Hey guys, Mike at Carbonite Lab coming back at you with another video. This time, obviously, it's warp spiders. This is a group of 10 with Exarch. They are the old out-of-print metal models, all one piece, very static poses. I think there's only 3 poses in the entire squad. The Exarch has his own pose, and then you have a running model pose right here. Then you have the typical static at the ready pose here. Everything else is just a repeat of the same. So some of these guys, I actually tried to lean them forward to change the pose a little bit and do something different, but not much you can do with these older guys. And because they're metal and they go in kind of the slot in the bottom of the base, they can be somewhat top heavy or lean to one side with that big heavy weapon. The paint scheme, I kept it the same as the codex. Again, I mentioned before in a video that I like the Aspect Warrior color schemes that the codex provides. I think it kind of lends to the whole idea of the Eldar and their war host. The colors are just great, and it really makes them pop on the table. They're a very colorful army. Coincidentally, these warp spiders, they do synergize in color by themselves with my Samhan Warhost being the red, the white, and the black. I have seen them painted in different colors before that represent a different craft world, and they do work. I just like the red. I guess I just like painting it, and I do like the contrast of the white on the red. Makes them stand out a little bit more. I did encounter a few obstacles with these older metal models. Again, like most of my other stuff, I got these used, so I had to strip them down to the metal and then reprimer them and then paint them. And I had them for, I think, at least a good 2 years before I even painted the whole squad. I got tired of looking at them in a box and decided I got to pull these out and paint them. I mean, especially now in 6th edition, everybody's using them, so why not pull them out and get them painted? I decided to put the warp spider decal on their helmets, which was a little frustrating. I'll be honest. You got to trim it real close because the shape of the Eldar helmet has got a very rounded surface to it. The decal itself, when you cut it out, you can cut it out nice and round, but you still end up with the wrinkling around the edges as the decal struggles to conform to the shape of the Eldar helmet. So I made a few relief cuts in the edges of the decal, in between where the ruin markers actually come out, and it provided some relief cuts just enough so that it smoothed out with the surface itself. Once they dried, I went over it with a couple coats of art coat to build up the candy shell, and then used a matte spray to matte the whole thing down, so it kind of hid the decal in there. I have a friend of mine who was telling me about some other chemicals and things that are out there that help turn that decal into more of a almost like a dissolvable decal. You guys probably know what I'm talking about, but it helps adhere the decal. It like takes away all the leftover refuse or garbage of the decal, and it soaks just the ink down onto the model itself. And I think I'll be trying that in the future. I think there's a good reason to use that technique on a model like this, where it's a small decal going on a rounded surface. I think that'll make a big difference. Another thing that I encountered when I painted these, as I have with some of my other older metal Aspect Warrior models, is that the decal isn't that crisp compared to the new plastics or even the fine cast. Everything is kind of very low relief. There's not a lot of like strong detail that you can pull out, and the old castings, I'll just say it, they're imperfect. You can even see it just by looking at the helmets of the warp spiders themselves, where this receptacle comes into the bottom of the mask and goes up into that point right there in the red. You can see that it's not perfectly symmetrical, and that's the actual casting of the model itself, and that's consistent throughout the older metal models from my point of view, at least in my experience and seeing it when you're painting the model. when you're just looking at it real quick, you don't really notice it when you sit down to put the brush to the models, when you start to see the imperfections. But this casting has been around for how long now? I mean, isn't this the original casting? I believe so. I don't recall ever seeing a different version of Warp Spider. I think these things have done decent enough to stand the test of time through all the different editions. I think these guys come out in 4th edition, which is before my time, before I started playing 40k. So the model as a whole, it's held up. It still looks pretty good. I thought about buying some of the new Finecast ones, but decided against it. I had a full squad of 10 metal ones. Why not just paint those? They're already paid for. They just needed paint. So here I am rambling. The weapon themselves, this was it the Death Spinner weapon. I don't have my codex in front of me, and it's early, and I'm still drinking my coffee, so bear with me. But the weapon itself is a monofilament weapon. In the codex, they show it painted like this, with the gradient from the yellow to the red at the tip of the weapon, which I thought looked really cool. But when you look at it, it looks like it would be a flame weapon, just based upon its color. And I guess the monofilament weapon should be represented in a different way, because it is, after all, a ball of tightly coiled, razor-thin wire. In my head, I picture, fishing line or something like, well, just like a spider web, like a very thin, razor-like silk that is uncoiled and shot from the weapon itself, and then it does its damage. And I'm not sure exactly what would be a good representation of painting it on the model. So I went with the codex picture. Let's see if I can spin some of these guys around for you. The blacks, just basic black. I did paint all the gemstones on them. Yay, I thought about that ahead of time when I was painting these guys. If you see my other videos, I have models that they're done for the most part, but have no gemstones painted on them. The color scheme of the white with the red and the black is good because of the contrast, and I like that the green on the tassels and the eye lenses, and then some of the gemstones, it drops in there once in a while to break up that color scheme and toss a little bit more color on the model. At first I wasn't really sold on the idea of painting the knee plate armor white as well, but I'm glad I went with it because, again, it helps bring color around the model, so that way your eye can fully rotate around the model itself instead of being stuck on just the white helmet. The Exarch and his power blades, I always thought it was a pretty cool model. I like those power blades. I think they're cool looking. I think that if they were to do a plastic kit, hopefully they would be an option that you could just add on, because not everybody runs power blades. I mean, they're great for combat, but how often do you really put your warp spiders in combat? Most people that I've talked to on the forums and whatnot, and just reading blogs and bat reps, most people just get these guys in close enough to unleash their 12-inch fury with their monofilament weapons, and then use their movement to get back out of the way and stay out of harm's way from bolter fire or something along those lines, not really getting in combat. Of course, with a 3+ armor save, one of the few aspect warriors in the Eldar codex that has such, you can get these guys in combat, and they'll probably hold up for a little bit. The Exarch could use his power blades then, but I don't think most people are going to be playing them that way. They're not well suited to combat. Every aspect warrior in the Eldar Warhost has its own purpose. And if you've played Eldar long enough, or you've read about it from other folks, aspect warriors, when it comes to using them, if you don't use them for the job they're specifically suited to, they tend to fail. Warp spiders are not meant to go in and be a close combat unit. We have other stuff for that, like banshees, for example, scorpions, harlequins, but it is sad to say that the banshees are not that good this edition. So again, hope you guys enjoyed checking out my warp spiders. Sorry the camera isn't in that great at focus, but it's a lot of warp spiders to put in front of the lens, so I appreciate you guys checking out the video. If you have any comments, please do so. If you like the video, share it with your friends, like the video, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.